Welcome to Duri's Kitchen. Today I have a very special surprise for you all. He is a riot and notorious too, but he's the life of the family. I will introduce my son, Dhruv Bhalla, who's going to show you an amazing dish. Over to you, Dhruv.
Thank you, Mom. She's just being very modest. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is my version of a Thai basil chicken, which is something we've grown up with because Calcutta is so close to Thailand. So we always go, and this is something that is very easy to make. It's a patent in every Thai household. Ingredients are very simple to find, and everyone has their own version. So let's get cooking. Alright, so let's start with the ingredients for this basil chicken. I'll start first with the kind of basil that we're using for this chicken. So this is what we call Thai holy basil. It's a sort of sweet basil. If you can see the edges, they're fairly smooth. There's another basil which is Thai chili basil, which is more rugged. So you get these in most of the Asian supermarkets. You can even get them in Nature's Basket, Spencer's. Nowadays they're fairly available everywhere. So this, a good handful, typically they come in bunches or packets, so get as much as you can. For a kilo chicken, get about close to 500 grams of Thai basil. Here we have about 3 tablespoons of finely chopped garlic. So as you can see, the garlic has been not minced, but finely chopped, right? I personally, and again, this is optional, I like shallots in my Thai basil chicken, and I personally like them in big sizes. So basically you can either slice them up. If you don't like shallots, you can remove them, but I like the sweetness of the shallots when it mixes with the fish sauce and with the caramelization of the sugar, of everything. It just comes out beautiful. So these are sort of the dry ingredients. Now moving on to the wet ingredients, which is most important, is we have a balance of sweet and sour. The most important ingredient is fish sauce. You cannot substitute fish sauce for anything else. You can use any brand. This is what is available here in India very easily, the real Thai. So we use this. And you'll be using about close to 6 tablespoons for this much of basil chicken. I then have a mixture of light soy and dark soy. So basically the light soy adds some depth to the dish, and the dark soy adds a little more color. So basically it adds that little brown color to the overall dish. To balance the sour, we're using about 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce. Again, this is optional, but I highly recommend oyster sauce. You can just use sugar, but again, this adds a little more depth of flavor to the dish. So as you can see, the ingredients are fairly simple. Now let's go cooking. Alright, so here we basically, now this is the stir fry process, right? So we start with heating up the oil. What I didn't mention earlier is we want a neutral oil so that we sort of really get the flavors of the dish out rather than the oil overpowering. So for Bengalis out there, don't use sarson ka tel. For anyone out there, try avoiding ghee. Keep it to a neutral sunflower oil. Once the oil is nice and hot, we basically start with the garlic. You immediately hear the sizzle. This is sound heavily, really. Now garlic also is extremely healthy, so it has multiple purposes for this dish. To this, we start with the bird-eye chili. Now this can get a little bit. See, this is what I mean. The bird-eye chili immediately gives a bit of smoke into the air, which is like fumes, really. And so here we have the bird-eye chili and the garlic. Look at the colors, look at the contrast. It's like a little ray of sunshine in a plate. So we sort of caramelize the garlic just a little bit, avoiding it to burn. And just when you see a little nice film of goodness around it, we add the shallots. Now the objective is not to burn these ingredients, but to just get them in their purest form to add sort of flavor. So before the onions and garlic start burning is the time you really want to add your protein. Now I'm using chicken here, as I mentioned earlier, but you can actually use pork, you can use beef, you have all kinds of protein that you can use. Vegetarians can even do this with tofu or paneer. That works extremely well. We are hardcore non-vegetarians in our house, so we like our meat. Give this a good toss, like any other stir-fry process, till you get a nice sear over the chicken. And remember, this is very, very fine meat. I've practically taken the thigh, because that's the part which I like of the chicken, which really cooks quite quickly, and they're very, very small pieces. So we see they're already turning color, which means it's already nearly done. This dish practically takes no more than 15 minutes or 10 minutes if you have all the ingredients in place. So to this I'm adding the fish sauce, a good generous portion. So typically, as I mentioned earlier, I use close to 5 to 6 tablespoons. Again, if you don't like it too fishy, you can use less, but I like the sour element that comes with this sauce. It just adds another dimension to the entire dish. So I've used about 1/4 of a bottle of fish sauce here. The next ingredient I'm going to add is the light soy. So again, this adds a good balance without adding the bruisedness of the brown while making the dish. So there you go. I've added the light soy. For the color, like I mentioned, is the dark soy. So this is the dark soy which I'm adding. And again, I typically use very little of the dark soy because I think it overshadows this mild and delicate dish. So just enough for the color, and then you give it a good mix again. And don't be alarmed if this leaves a little bit of liquid, because it's supposed to. It'll eventually dry out. I personally like my basil chicken, or Kra Pao, as they call it in Thailand, a little bit on the wet side. Some people like it dry. It's complete. It's up to your preference, really. So for the final of the wet ingredients is the oyster sauce, which just again, look at that yummy, gooey, goldeny syrup. It just adds, and I don't want to waste any of it, so I'm just going to add a little bit of the liquid here so that we get all of this goodness. And it just adds an immediate sheen to this entire dish. Like if you just see the color here, it just changes the entire dynamics of the dish. So that's the oyster sauce done. So now we have all our sweet and sour sauces in the stir fry. Now the only other ingredient left is our little Amazon forest right here of fresh 5 holy basil. Now this may look like a lot, but once it wilts into its shyness, you will see that it basically withers into the background, and what you'll be left with is just the aroma of the basil, and it'll bring Thailand really to your plate. So this has been cooking now for about all of 5 to 7 minutes, and as you can see, the basil is completely immersed. Like that huge mountain of Amazon is basically practically disappeared. So this is what it looks like, and we just want to wait for a few more minutes till the chicken is cooked through and the flavors have literally been absorbed by the meat that you're using. Mom, it's ready. Spicy just the way you like it.
Oh, lovely. I hope, Dhruv, you've added a lot of chilies. I love chilies.
Always. Here you go.
Oh, that looks amazing.
Yeah, I got some lime for you. This is that Gondoraj.
May I try it, please?
Of course. Here's the spoon. Please go for it.
Oh my God. It feels like I'm in Thailand. Really good, Dhruv.